All right, first thing that I wanted to tell you is that, go to media view. First thing I wanted to tell you is that I hope everybody has their access to the textbook in mastering. I sincerely apologize for how long that took. The first time we tried first day, and I realized many of you are first time students at Camden County College, which didn't help make it any smoother. And there were a lot of issues with communication between the bookstore, the publisher, and then what they told us to tell you. And as you guys probably, as I talked about last week, I'm not going to go through the whole thing with you, but basically the main difficulty was no one could see what you saw when you clicked the Canvas tabs. And so we were all kind of guessing what to tell you to do. And so that's why it took till Friday or Saturday is when I sent you that email. So as far as I know, everyone who has tried to get in using those directions that I sent in the email has gotten in and has access to their textbook and mastering. So if you still have not done that, you absolutely have to do that today. And you have to spend day and night until you can get in, because that's super important. You have to have access to your textbook and you have to be able to do the mastering assignments. I did happen to look last night and I saw that almost all of you have completed the Introduction to Mastering first assignment, which was great. So I knew that you were in, and I knew that everything was, in theory, working smoothly. Let me just silence that. Second thing is purchase the lab kit. And Colleen just was very helpful there to tell us, to remind us how to do that. If you go to the college website and you look, I can go through that with you real fast. So if you do this, so if you actually just go to the Camden County College website, which is up here, I think. Go to the home page. Up here where it says Student Life, you'll see it says Bookstores. All right, so if you go down to this tab and you click on the bookstore, you'll actually get the bookstore homepage. I know it's not very user-friendly. This is the website here, camdencc.bncollege.com. So if you go, and this isn't very intuitive either. When you get to this page, because it's actually our page of Barnes & Noble, all college bookstores in the country, if you click on textbooks, this is the path that Colleen was just telling us real quickly. If you click find textbooks, and you select, you have to put in this information. So fall, select biology, select your course, which is 111, and select your section, which can be, you guys, the people in this class, since I've cross-linked the courses, you're either section 01, 02, 03, it's all the same. And then click this bar that says find materials for your course. This is the page that you'll see, Danny, and see how it says here, Bio 111 Lab Kit. You just want to collect, there's no formats. You can't rent it, you can't you just have to buy it. So put it in your cart. Yes, make an account first is helpful because they'll ask you for all that information. And then the pickup, they'll send you an email when it's time to actually physically come and pick it up. Okay, so I had that on my agenda today to go through with you. Remember, you do not need the lab book, even though it says it's required. I'm not using it. You don't need the photo atlas. You don't need the, this is a different photo atlas. This one's in color. This one's ancient Greece. It's in black and white. Actually, the pictures show more detail, but anyway, you need this, which you all already have, and the lab kit. That's what you need. Right. We do not have control as an individual instructor. I don't have any control of what shows up as required or recommended. If it's not required, the bookstore won't put it on this page. It's not required or recommended, they won't even list it. So even if some of us aren't going to use it, we have to put it up here. Okay. So that's why the list is so long, but all you need to actually purchase from the bookstore is the lab kit. Remember, you already purchased this when you signed up for class. It was part of your registration. That's the whole point of first day. Okay, so that kind of answers both of those things. The other thing that I wanted to talk about today is, as you guys can see, I should go back actually and go back to our Canvas page. See if I can get there quickly. I don't know how frequently you guys use Zoom, but the controls for Zoom are right over the top of the bar of where all the tabs are open. So you have to wait until the controls hide before you can click go back to any of the tabs that you have open. So here's our page, right? Our first page in Canvas, our first module. And this is, as I mentioned, this is going to be pretty much the format for all of the modules. I'll put in a reading assignment. If I have PowerPoints, I will put them in. If I have a note outline, I will put it in, and the note outlines will have this little paper clip, as will the PowerPoints. Anything that you have to do either has this little piece of paper with a pen next to it or one of the rockets. Those mean something you have to turn in, right? This is something you have to physically do. So far, all that's been due is the Introduction to Mastering and homework for Chapter 1. This video is from the summer, right? And some of you guys picked up on that as you started to watch them. So is the video for Chapter 2. So is the video for Chapter 3. Chapter 5's video is in 2 parts because it's very long, so I would watch it in 2 parts. And then Chapter 6, and I think I also have Chapter 7 in here. Yeah, it's Chapter 7. That one's also in 2 parts. I don't know, some of you may have come to the first Zoom meeting and you might remember I started out making the Mastering Biology assignments just 1 per chapter, and I realized that was often, like, this one's worth 62 points. That's kind of crazy because you have to sit down and work at it for like an hour, right? And I realized that a lot of people want to do this in short bits, and the administration keeps telling us that we should have everything in literally 15-minute blocks for you to do, which in a science class is almost impossible, okay? So as the summer semester dragged on and your semester drags on, you'll see that I've started to divide the homeworks up into more parts. So if you take a look here at Chapter 7, notice there's 3 parts for Chapter 7, and there were, for Chapter 6, I think there's several as well. I don't know where they are, but whatever. So just be aware that more things are going to keep appearing, and there's going to be more to do for each chapter as we go along, because instead of having these long assignments of 48, 50, 60 points, they're going to start to be broken up into smaller chunks for you. These homework assignments, 2 attempts. So when you go in to do them, you kind of have to be ready to sit down and do them. And they give you hints if you got the question wrong, but I would really, really, really be prepared to do the homework. I would read first. I would look at the video, look at the notes, watch the, look at the PowerPoints, and then I would try to sit down and do the homeworks, okay? If that turns out to be problematic, I can alter some of those dates and give extensions and things, but try really hard, especially at the beginning, to just focus and get those done. For Chapter 4, I wanted you to notice this. For Chapter 4, there is one thing that you have to know for Chapter 4. It's this right here. Let's see if I can click on it. It won't let me. I want to click on it. Yeah, okay, well. I guess I have to be in my book first. I don't know. You guys are probably better at this than I am already. No, well, I'll just tell you this again. For Chapter 4, this is it. There's one table for Chapter 4 that you need to know. I'm just going to show it to you real briefly so that you can see it and not freak out, because you don't have to, there's nothing you have to read in Chapter 4. There's no notes for Chapter 4. There's no video for Chapter 4. And I really don't need 80 emails asking where are the notes for Chapter 4, right? So that's why I'm bothering to go through this. You should be able to try to close some of these tabs so that I can, you should be able to just, all that you have to view from Chapter 4, looks like Chapter 2, is one table, and it's on page, it's literal, on the physical book, it's on page like 64. Chapter 4. Sorry. It's angry. Yeah, I don't think my internet works very well in this room, so I'll try to be slower. Chapter 3, chapter 4. This is what I wanted to show you. This one right here. It's a single table that has all of the chemical groups that you need to know about. It's like it just took me to the beginning of the chapter. Nothing about isomers. You don't have to know any of this. This is what you have to know. Where is the, I'm struggling. New book, new everything, I guess. After this. All right, I can't see the other. I have to hide you guys. I can't see the other. Here we are. It's concept 4.3. I don't think that's changed. I think that's the same as it was before. I think this is probably my internet connection that is slow. There it was. Huh. This table right here. This is what you have to know. I think there's one more group at the bottom. I think there's 8 groups here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 7. So you'll have to be able to recognize the word and what's in this blue-gray box here, where it's like you'll have to be able to associate the words hydroxyl group with this chemical formula OH. We call them functional groups. The reason being is because these functional groups are very chemically active and they show up over and over again in our discussions. And there's, unfortunately for you, there's a lot of chemistry in Bio 1. So they're going to show up in chapter 5 multiple times. They're going to show up in chapter 6. They're going to show up in chapter 8. They're going to show up in chapter 15 again, sorry, 16 again. And I'm just going to say things like phosphate, and you need to try to remember that a phosphate group is a phosphorus, 4 oxygens, 1 with a double bond. So this is the important part from chapter 4, which is what I really wanted to show you. And so look, I have a table number, figure 4.9. Figure 4.9. Okay. Yeah, I guess the book, they don't have pages anymore. All right. So let me get out of here and go back to our course. All right, so now we're back, right? So we can look at the modules. So here when it says read chapter 4, you should only look at that figure, that table. I might have that. I will try to find if they give me a PowerPoint of just that picture, and I will put it underneath the read portion, okay? I don't think you can see it yet, but our first quiz, they call them quizzes in Canvas. I would call it an exam. Our first exam is going to include chapters 1 through 5. And it still has a due date of when we did it in the summertime, but I am going to move it into module 3 here at the bottom of module 3. So be expecting it. Notice we have to already start reading new material before I can test you on the old material, because I need to give you time to study, right? So I'm going to put the exam in there, and it will be chapters 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I would say most of the meat of that is in chapter 5. So it comes kind of at the end. All right. That's what I needed to communicate with you today specifically. If you guys have questions, let me put the gallery view back up so I can see all of your smiling faces. If you have particular questions about the content, Angelina asked, will the exam involve math with electrons, neutrons, and protons like in chapter 3 homework? Small math, yes. So you should be able to, for example, if in a given part of a question, it says something like oxygen has an atomic mass of 16 and an atomic number of 8. You should be able to say, oh, 8 is the number of protons, 16 is protons plus neutrons. If I ask you how many electrons oxygen has, it's usually the same as the number of protons if it's neutral. So you would be able to say it has 8 electrons. So quick, simple math, and pretty much just those first 2 rows of the rows are crossed, right? First two or three rows of the periodic table, that's about all the ones that we need to know for biology, right? So those are, so not super hard math, like you don't have to figure out molarities and stuff like that, go to chemistry, learn all about it, right? But we do need to know how many electrons sit in each of the shells for the first 3 shells, 1, 2, 3, and then whether or not, if they're going to more likely be to share an electron, or whether they're going to give one away or try to steal one, those sorts of basic things, those chemical bonds. But other than that, no. Oh, somebody just joined us. After we get the lab kits, then we'll do some of, I'm going to keep meeting with you guys every, in those lectures, in the lecture videos, everything you need to know on, pretty much everything you need to know on the exam is in there. You do need to read the book. Sorry, you have to actually read the book and take notes yourself, because my notes are an outline. They're very brief. They don't have all the details in them. So you need to read the chapter. I would, like as a strategy, I would read the chapter first. I would read it in short parts, like half-hour bits. I would read it, take some notes. Then I would have my notes next to you. I would watch the video. After you've read it, after you've read the chapter, because then the video makes more sense because the words I use, you've already at least heard them once or seen them. Then I'd watch the video, and then I would fill in the notes, and then I would start to study. I mean, all the studying, I can't do that for you, and I wouldn't be doing that for you in class either, right? You need to make flashcards and, you know, make note outlines, however it is that you study for an exam. The exams are difficult. You're not going to be able to look up the answers. So you have to be prepared for the exams as if we were going to have the exam in class. Okay, there isn't time for you to just go, oh, that's from chapter 1 and look up the answer. So I just want to warn you of that. I say that and everyone says, oh yeah, that's fine. And then when you actually sit down to take the test, it's really difficult, right? Because you can't help. The natural human tendency is if you see a question and there's no one watching you, right, you feel like, oh, I'm just going to look that up. If you take the time to do that for every question, you won't finish the test. Okay, Colleen, what is this about the ATP? I need to know because I think in the chapter 1 notes, it lists ATP production. You can turn your microphone. I'll just ask you on mute. I think the context of that is that in chapter 1, they're asking you about energy production, right? So that's one of the characteristics of living things, the ability to produce ATP, okay? That's in chapter 1, that's all you have to know is that ATP is the energy molecule that all cells use to do work. You don't have to be able to describe the structure. That comes in chapter 5 and chapter 8, and again in chapter 17. that help?
Weird when I realized that it was like an overview chapter, because I was like, that stuff was really long and complicated. So do I need to know it right now?
Right. No, chapter 1 in all textbooks is, hey, welcome to this course. These are all the things you could learn if you studied this whole book, right? So, and they go on and on. So that's why I made that note outline on the big themes, because focus on what's on that note outline, right? Because that's what I would have, that's what's in the video. I just go through it like as if I was teaching in the class. And as I mentioned, for some of these, chapters, not these first few, because the first few I feel like are they're pretty well set. But for some of these chapters, as they get more complicated, when we have our Zoom meetings, there'll be parts, I'll say, okay, I'm just gonna go over this part again. Or if you guys ask me specifically, can you go over cellular respiration again? Because I watched the video, I read it in the book, and it still doesn't make any sense to me. I'll just go over it. I'll just go to the kitchen and we'll do it on the blackboard, or yeah, most likely do it on the blackboard, or I'll try to wrestle the iPad away from my husband, who's like checking all his emails right now, because we're sharing our devices, but I can draw on the iPad. So I'll just either draw on the little blackboard or I'll draw it on the iPad, but you have to bring me the questions, right? This is the hard part. This is online learning. It's not ideal, but it's not, I'm not with you 6 hours a week. I can't give you the exact same experience as if we were in the classroom, right? It's just not how it's set up. So it's difficult because as a first year student, you have to take a lot of responsibility for learning it on your own, right? And that's not fun or pleasant, but that's why I'm holding these meetings Mondays and Wednesdays, so that you can come and ask me all these questions that you have. And it would help if you ask me content questions, and then I'll just go over that stuff with you. So use it to your advantage. It's like free tutoring with the person who writes the test, right? So you can just ask me all the questions that you need to know the answers to before you actually sit down to take the test. So somebody did ask in the chat when the first exam is going to be, and I'm thinking probably, this week is today's the 9th, right? So I'm thinking probably in that week of the 21st, probably September 22nd, I'm guessing. It's I'm gonna set the first exam date. I'd like to have the exams on Tuesdays, and this is just an online thing, right? Because then you can study over the weekend if you're a weekend studier, or you can study on Sunday, Monday if you work on the weekends, and then work on the class during the week. You can cram that last little bit on Sunday, Monday, and then we can have the exam on Tuesday when it's closer to midweek, when there's support at the college if something happens to your internet connection, or it's just a little easier when it's during the week. So I'm going to try to set all the exams for Tuesdays. All right. Another new message. To go over emergent properties and positive and negative feedback regulation, please. Sure. So for emergent properties, let's take a look at. Let me see if I can find. See if it'll let me open. I think there were PowerPoints for chapter 1, right? See if I can open those, and we can just take a look at them. You guys can see my screen now, yeah? Somebody, anybody? Yes? Okay, thanks. So this is the figure for the first theme, right? So these are the characteristics of living things, and it's part of this larger theme of organization. So order, evolutionary adaptation, regulation, reproduction, response to the environment, growth and development, energy processing. So as we go through each of these, the response to the environment portion, or regulation, probably regulation portion, was this brief, super brief discussion of positive and negative feedback. Not important that you know all the details of that at this point. Go to anatomy and physiology, learn all about it, right? This is, as Colleen stated, this is an overview chapter, okay? So for the themes of organization, for the big theme of organization, we have all of these components that make up living things. If you can't check off all of these boxes about a particular organism, they are not a living thing. For example, a virus is not a living thing because it does not do all of these things. It doesn't grow, it doesn't make its own energy, so it does not count as a living thing. Every other creature, every other living thing on the planet has to meet all of these criteria. All of those living things are organized in this manner, right? So this is why I label it structural organization. Because it's Bio 1, we are going to spend almost all of our time here, molecules, organelles, cells. This is about as far as we get in Bio 1. It's very focused on the cell and what happens inside the cell, because the cell is the smallest unit of a living thing. It's the smallest thing you can be and still be alive. So that's why these pictures are in here. Genetic transmission. So the energy flow portion, that's just adding a little bit more detail to this portion here, energy processing. Okay, that's all that this picture is for. I don't expect you to remember all of the parts of this picture. That's not why it's there. So this, theme 4, interactions within an organism, within an ecosystem, right? So within an organism, that's what the feedback was about. It's part of homeostasis or regulation. And this is showing you a very molecular version, a very chemical version of how cells and organisms regulate, in this case, how they regulate the breakdown of sugar in the body using this compound called insulin. Again, I'm not going to ask you about insulin. This is an example of regulation. As far as regulation within an ecosystem, it gets a lot more complicated, right? They throw this in here because way at the end of the textbook, there's a whole section on ecology. We're not getting there in Bio 1. So it's just to expose you to it. Classification, this goes with the evolution theme, how we group things, just because we're humans, right? We have to put things in little boxes, and these are the boxes that we currently have. We'll chat about Darwin, the finches as an example, right, of evolution. Theme 6, the scientific method, right? And these are some examples in a microscopic way, like an individual experiment that happens every day in your life that you don't think about, and then in how actually science is done. This picture or something similar to it will show up in the information literacy assignment because this is part of the scientific method. Where's the feedback, peer review, replication findings, publication. So this community analysis and feedback is a big portion of the scientific method, and that's what's focused on in that information literacy assignment that's coming up, right? I think that's the end of the chapter. All right, so I'll stop that share. So who was it? Where were we in the chat? So no, Angelina, there is no study guide because this is the study guide, right? So the study guide is the PowerPoints, the notes that I've given you, and the Zoom meetings, the lectures, the videos, you have to watch them. Right, so that's the point of those videos, is those videos are lectures as if I was in class, and the parts I would go over if we were in class are the parts that I think are really hard, or the parts that I think are like really difficult and hard to understand, or the parts that you absolutely must know. So everything that comes out of my mouth on the test. Have to say that, have to cover myself, right? And I would say that in real class as well, right? To my students, they're like, "Oh, are we getting a study guide?" I'm like, "No, the notes you take in class, those are your study guide. That's the point of coming to class and taking notes." And I realize that many of you have not been trained very well to take science classes. I get that. You've been PowerPointed to death. That's that's not really a great way to learn science, because there is a lot of memorizing that you have to do, but there's also a lot of interconnection that you have to do, and a lot of times that doesn't fit on a single slide, right? So one of the challenges of Bio 1 is if you're going to make flashcards, for example, and I always tell my students this, if you're going to make flashcards, that's a great idea, but keep the flashcards in groups that are all about the same topic, because you're going to have to not only know the details, but you have to get the connections between them, right? So like, for example, if you made flashcards, this is just a super easy example. If you made flashcards for this, because it's the first thing, right? So we're all eager. So if you made a flashcard that said theme 1, organization, and you put all of these on it, and then you made individual flashcards for some of the examples that were given in the textbook to explain what they mean by order and evolutionary adaptation and regulation, the positive negative feedback, reproduction, blah, blah, blah. So if you made more detailed flashcards about each of these, then keep them in a group, keep them together. Don't randomly throw them in with all the other flashcards that you have, because in college, so we're not just learning all the little pieces. In college, the important part about science is learning how they fit together. So it won't feel like that very much because we're in the cell, and the cell is tiny, and so everything is very crammed and very chemistry and detail oriented. But the main point of all this, of starting with the cell, we're doing this reductionist model of learning biology, is we start with the smallest things and we build into the big things, right? And so as we build, we have to remember how everything interacts with each other. So that's going to be the trick. Not just memorizing everything, but figuring out how it fits together in this chapter, how this chapter fits together with that chapter. And if you can do that, that helps with being able to remember, really. So the homeworks, I would say, in mastering are probably a little more in depth. I mean, I probably shouldn't say this. The homeworks are probably harder, a little bit harder than the actual questions I'm going to ask you on the test, because on the homeworks, you have chance to take your time and find the answer and think about it before you have to give me the response, right? So that's probably true. So sometimes if you do the homeworks and you're just like, oh my gosh, I can't do this, it's too overwhelming, try to bring those questions to the Zoom meetings and we can go over them together, and then we can talk. Then I can say specifically, right, well, that's probably harder than what I would ask you, or in an exam I wouldn't have time to ask you a series of questions like that. So bring those, when you run into trouble, bring those to the Zoom meetings and we can talk about them. Great. There's a group me to keep in contact with other students. You guys can just use, you can also just use the discussion board in the class. Yeah, I don't even know what a group me is. And if I'm not there, I mean, I know I get it. You like to have conversations without me, like it's like a parent, like whatever. The difficulty is I can't give you the answers, right? So it is good to communicate with each other and help each other out. I'm totally for that. I usually leave the announcements, I leave it open that you guys can add comments and talk to each other that way. And I can set up, I mean, I think if you click on the people tab, you guys can do group conversations within Canvas. I don't know how to do that yet, but we can try to figure that out. So Megan, it is in Canvas, or do I have to make it visible in Canvas? Because I don't think I put it on the, like, can you get to it from our Canvas page? Do you know? You can. Okay. Well, I didn't know you could do that. So maybe you guys can show me. Can somebody willing to share their screen with me and show me? So I can make it so that you can share too. There, that should make it so that you guys can share with me. All right, how do I get to the discussion tab? If I minimize you guys and then zoom that out, there we go. So over here on the discussions tab, this one. Oh, look, you guys have been posting there. I didn't even know that. Is this you? Yes, oh yeah. So can I see these or not? How do I see them? Yeah, all right. So I'll try to remember to look at these occasionally if you need me to. So just let me know if you need me to. Probably the easiest way would be to send me some sort of a Devin, is that the person who's been doing this, right? Because I noticed that when you send me emails, it's from everyone, right? So maybe that are you sending them from the discussion or something? Is that how that's working? All right, maybe you guys can give me some help on that at some point.
I didn't make it.
You didn't?
Oh, no, that was Stanford.
Oh, okay. But when you send me an email.
Yeah, when I sent, yeah. No,
I thought, did you hit like reply all off of an email that I sent the whole class, because I see everyone's names and there's like 88 of you, and I was like, what? So, okay, so that explains that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, if you want, if you need me to look in there and answer a question that you guys can't sort out for yourselves, just someone send me an email, because I'll forget to look in there occasionally, right? But if you need my help, or like feels awful lot like if you're in a big family, right? And the youngest brother has to go up and ask mom the question and then goes back down to the basement and tells everybody whether you're going to get to have ice cream or not, right? So it's kind of, if it kind of works like that, that's fine as well. Somebody wants to send me an email and then dump it into the discussion, that's fine too. All right, other questions, worries, concerns that you have at this point? Yes, no, maybe so. No. All right, I'm going to stay on because my office hours are technically from 9 until 11, and I use this Zoom invite when students from other classes want to come. So it's up to you. If you want to leave the meeting, that's great. If you just put your phone on and hit record and walked away and you're still showing up on my panel, I may send you back to the waiting room. Okay, so if that happens to you at some point, you'll just be like, why am I in the waiting room again? It's because I'm having a meeting with somebody else privately, that's all. All right, other than that, I will see you again on Monday, right? So same thing, I'll probably send a Zoom invite, probably Sunday night. That's usually when I remember to do it. And then we can meet again on Monday, can ask your questions. I think there are some things that by Monday you'll be into content that you might need a little more help with, right, than just talking about water, right? Awesome, you guys are so welcome. I'm glad you came. Try to keep coming. I know it's not the most exciting thing, but try to keep coming, because as I found in the summer, the people who come to the Zoom meetings are usually the people that do the best, right? Because we have some connection.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye, guys.
Is there going to be a meeting on next Monday, or
Yes.
is it only Wednesdays? Okay, so it's Monday
Mondays
and
and
Wednesdays.
It wasn't the first Monday because we technically weren't in school yet.
Yeah.
And it wasn't this past Monday because My
let you know.
husband still met with his students because he was like, it's online, there's no holidays. I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that. So I I didn't have a meeting on Monday
Yeah.
because it was the holiday. So we'll always meet on Mondays and Wednesdays. 8 to 9 is just for this class, just for you guys. And then, like I said, I'm gonna stay on in some format. And if you get kicked off or whatever, and you're like, oh, I wanted to answer this question, send me an email and I'll resend you the password for this meeting, and then we'll just open it up, or a different one, and we'll just open it up and have an office hour as well.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, have a good day.
Thanks,
Thank
you
you.
too.
Understand.
Bye.
Yeah, bye guys.
Right.
So I have a question. If I wanna, can I still opt out of the e-text? Because I feel like I need like the physical book. I
No,
do
you
better-
can't. You can't,
Okay.
because if you opt out of the e-text, you lose your mastering subscription.
Okay, I got you.
So if you want a physical book, and I totally understand that, I am freaking out myself because all I
Yeah.
have is an online version of the 6th edition, because I
Mhm.
can't go to my office because I think there's one sitting there that came over the summer from the publisher, but I can't actually get it.
Mhm.
I get it. I need a book sitting next to me even while I'm talking to you. I want to be able to flip through the pictures
Right,
and say, oh yeah,
right.
on this page. So my advice to you, it's Bianca, right? My
Mhm.
advice to you would be, I would get we're in the 12th now. I would get the 11th or the
Mhm.
10th. Back as far as the 9th is a little different. I would go, you can get back as far as the 10th. I would go to Amazon and just rent it for
Okay.
like $10 if you
Okay.
want to. I would totally do that. I totally get it. I'm a book person. This is not working
Yeah.
either, but
Okay, so I'll do that.
don't opt out, because if you opt out, you lose your mastering, and then when you want it back, they charge you like $121.
Okay, got you.
And you've already paid for it at $69.
Yeah, yeah.
So, all right,
Okay.
somebody
I'll
else asked me that in
understand.
an email too, but yeah, don't opt out. I should start putting that announcement up. Don't opt out. Don't opt out.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I emailed you a few times about how I wasn't able to get access and everything.
Right.
I finally got access because I kept trying to call over the weekend, but they said because it's Labor Day, they can't, whatever. So last night, I eventually ended up getting the like thing to let me make an account and let me like register. But like when I went to go do like the homework, since like I couldn't do it before, like it won't let me because it said like it expired, like the chapter 1 and 2.
So because I have due dates on them.
Yeah.
So you need the intro to mastering and the chapter 1 homework to be the date extended for you.
Yes.
Okay. Got
Yeah.
it.
I don't know if chapter 2 expired too. I just know that like I just was able to make the
I get
account today and like.
Got it. I didn't look until last night. I think I sent you did I send you like 2 emails last night, or that was someone else?
Yeah, and then you.
I was like, wait a minute, I think I already answered this. Right. I think there's someone named Carrie Lett in my microbiology class, and so I thought you were the same person, literally.
Oh.
So I was like, oh, she's having trouble too, but I was like, wait a minute, wrong person. So, yes, if you just need an extension on those homeworks, and that's easy peasy for me to do.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I will go in and look. I'm writing myself a note. Go in and look and give extensions. And I usually, in the beginning, so the challenge is always there has to be a due date so people will actually get their crap together and get it done. Right?
Yeah.
But that due date, the due date on the first